Ian here from Easy Genie, and today I'm going to be talking about some best practices for trying to figure out who's in those old photo albums that you sometimes encounter or maybe you inherit, and you're trying to figure out who the people are if there's no captions available. And you can see in this particular photo album, there's a lot of family photos and it's not really clear who they are. So I generally follow a couple best practices for this, and I'm going to share them with you right now. So the first thing to try to understand is the source of the photo album. And in this case, by looking at some of the pictures, I can recognize a few people and I can determine that this is my grandmother. This may be my grandfather down here, or it could be his older brother. I'm not quite sure about that, but so this indicates this is from the maternal side of my family. So that's step one. I have a vague idea about it probably came from my grandfather's and grandmother's generation, and it's on the maternal side of the family. So that's step number one. And also, maybe you know where the book came from because you inherited it from somebody directly. But if you just kind of stumbled upon it in the attic and you were just looking at the photos, just try to find a few recognizable people, and that can be a good first step to go. So the next thing that I recommend doing is actually looking at what inscriptions may be available. And you can see on this one, there's not much here. There's a number 50, and there's two names on the front. So the 50, that could be 50th birthday, or it could be 50th anniversary. The fact that there's two names here indicates it's probably an anniversary type of gift. And Emily and Bob, that actually happens to be the name of my grandparents, but it's not the names that I knew them by. We use nicknames in our family, and I think this is pretty common the world over. People might call grandma and grandpa like Papa and Nana or something like that. So we had our own nicknames. And also, these are not even the names that my mother used for her parents. So this tells me that it was probably a friend or maybe a sibling or possibly a parent who gave it to my grandmother and grandfather. The fact that my grandmother's name is her formal spelling and Bob is kind of the casual one, it could be a sibling or friend on my grandfather's side of the family. So that's the next step. And then finally, a really important thing to do whenever you find an old photo album like this is to ask someone who may remember some of the faces or some of the names in here, who they are, and then take notes about it. You can either lift off the plastic and write below it. You can write on the back using some sort of pencil or a gel pen, or you can just keep a separate piece of paper because you really want to have notes attached to the original photo so you can determine who they are when you're doing your research and filing later on. We may not keep this particular photo album, but we may keep some of the photos for sure, such as the one of my grandmother and her friend and relative, or my grandfather and this person. Maybe not this one where the guy's in the swim trunks, but you get the idea.